Right, this is the last theme of the Pentateuch I'm going to talk about now. The last theme of the Pentateuch, called redemption, theme of redemption. So this one highlights God's action to actually rescue and deliver his people, from slavery, oppression, or even sin. The theme of redemption. So delivering his people from slavery, delivering them from oppression, how God delivered them. So the Pentateuch recorded it. So which I'm going to analyze. So I will start with the theme of redemption in Genesis. Because Genesis is the first book of the Pentateuch. Genesis, called Bereshit, which is in the beginning. So Genesis rather. So now when we talk about the theme of redemption in Genesis, it is very difficult for us to grasp it by mind, or it is difficult for us to quickly understand the concept of or the theme of redemption in Genesis, because it's not straightforward as we have it in other Pentateuch books. But the theme of redemption in Genesis set the stage for the larger redemption narrative in the Pentateuch and the Bible as a whole. So if you don't understand how redemption occurs in Genesis, it will be impossible. It will be difficult for us to understand the concept of other redemptive narrative in other books. So Genesis is like a book that gave us a foundation, or that set the stage for the larger redemption narrative that we find in other books. So these are points we are going to take notes in it. So now Genesis introduced to us the need for redemption. That is, the need for redemption was due to sin. It introduced to us the sin of Adam and Eve should be coming to our mind, and so on. So it also hints us to the future Redeemer, the promise of the Messiah, as we find it in Genesis. It's the promise of the Messiah. Also showing Genesis also shows us God's ability to rescue and deliver individuals and families. Yes, it shows us the ability of God to deliver individuals and families. You can see how God delivered Noah from the flood, Lot, and so on and so forth. So that is redemption. So it also exposes us to the establishment of covenants with Abraham. God established his covenant with Abraham, which relate to the redemption of Israelites. We can see from the covenant God established with Abraham. So this covenant exposes us to the fact that this is what will lead to the redemption of the Israelites. So now let's see examples. They are giving us key points. Let's see example. The first example of redemption in Genesis. So we have creation and fall, as recorded in Genesis chapter 1 to chapter 3. So this one presents the creation of humanity in God's image. So followed by the fall, which results in sin entering the world. So we have seen that is the fall of man brought about sin into the world. So now this sets the stage for the need for redemption. Man has fallen. Genesis has recorded the fall of man, and for man to be rescued, he needs redemption. So Genesis has exposed us to the fact that it has exposed us to the need for redemption. And the need for redemption, or the reason why we need redemption, is because man has fallen. God created man perfectly, but man has fallen into sin. So there's the need for man to be redeemed as recorded in Genesis. Now if you now go back to Exodus is still taking us back to how to actually maintain our relationship with God. Leviticus, where we have sacrifices and all that, guiding the Israelites to God. So all were as a result of the fall of man in Genesis. So Genesis has laid the foundation for us. So another one is God's promise to Eve. So we can see the concept of redemption there. So that is Genesis chapter 3 verse 15. So because that one records the promise of God that the seed of the woman, which is Eve, will crush the serpent's head. And that one is hinting us to the future Redeemer. The seed of the woman, that one is taking us back to Jesus Christ. That is, that one, the serpent, which was the devil, the seed of that woman will crush that serpent on the cross. So that is redemption. That crushing that serpent is saving humanity from doom. That is the death of Jesus Christ. The death of that future Redeemer is save human being from doom. We also have Abraham's call and covenant. God called Abraham and made covenant with him. So before that, we have Noah and the flood. So Genesis find in Genesis chapter 6 from down to 9. So this one tells the story of God's judgments on humanity through flood. So, but also his redemption of Noah and his family, saving them from destruction. So we can see God destroyed the world of men through flood, but still God saved Noah and his family. So next one is Abraham's calls and covenants. So that one is Genesis chapter 12 verse 17. Like I said, the covenant God made with Abraham was as a result of how God promised Abraham land, his descendants, and blessing and all that. So all these things are what will lead to redemption. Jesus Christ came from this part of the world. So God making his covenant with them, with Abraham, knew what he was doing. He was setting the bedrock for the future Redeemer. So another one is the story of Joseph too, as found in Genesis chapter 37 verse 37 to chapter 15. So this one presents Joseph's journey from slavery to leadership in Egypt, showcasing God's providential care and redemption in the life of an individual. So God redeemed Joseph from slavery into glory. So another one is the redemption from slavery. So the theme of redemption from slavery is introduced in Genesis. That is, the redemption of the Israelites from slavery is introduced in Genesis. So where God promises to deliver Abraham's descendants from slavery in foreign land, we can find that in Genesis chapter 15 verse 13 to 17. So now another theme now I'm out of Genesis now, going into other books of Pentateuch. Now in Exodus, so the Exodus of Egypt, from Egypt to then Exodus chapter 1 to chapter 15, so records how God delivered the Israelites from slavery. That is the theme of redemption. God delivered his people from slavery, as we find it in Exodus chapter 1 to chapter 15. We also have the Passover too. Exodus chapter 12. The Passover occurred in Egypt. So God redeemed the firstborn of all the Israel in Egypt. Why the firstborn of the Egyptian died. So that is the history. If you want to talk about the Passover, go back to that place. The history came from that place. How God delivered or redeemed the firstborn of the Israelites, and the firstborn of the Egyptian died. So, and the last one is the forgiveness of sin through sacrifices and ritual, as we find it in Leviticus chapter 1 to chapter 17 to chapter 7 and chapter 16. So God made provision for atonement and cleansing of sin, as we have in Leviticus. So the provision of God for atonement of sin were made known to us in Leviticus. So God wants to redeem people to himself. These people are sinful people. They are all sinners. So how can I relate with them? How can they come to me? So God established sacrificial system to actually bring people to himself. The burnt offering, the sin offering, atonements, and all that, in order to actually bring people, redeem the Israelites to himself. So that is that about the themes of the themes we have in Pentateuch. So in conclusion, these themes interconnected and strengthen each other, so presenting a rich and complex portrait of God's relationship with people, with his people in the Pentateuch. So that is that about that. So if you have any question, just do well to drop them on the comment section. So the next one, we are going to talk about the next topic by the grace of God. Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe.